I've been in this nutrition line for the last, I think, 33 or 34 years. It was personal circumstances. Started with my teenage. I was miserably thin, and the more I ate, the thinner I became. So when I entered the medical college, I realized by eating more, I'm not going to get fat, I'm not going to gain weight. In fact, the more I ate, the thinner I became. So I started my own private study of nutrition. And I found that the reason people are overweight or they're slim is because of the hormones in their body. So I discovered a direct connection between the diet and the hormones, the food we eat and the hormones, and how we can change it. And I also realized stress plays a major part in our lives. So I went to study of psychology and stress.
Okay.
And I did my own private study and research for almost 6 years. At the end of these 6 years, I realized I know everything I need to know. And I devised a program for myself for gaining weight. I put it on myself. And in a matter of 6 months, I gained about 20 kilos. I was 5 feet 8 inches, weighing 49 kilos earlier, and I became 69 kilos. So that's how I started off, but then I forgot all about it when I had my medical career. And when I started practicing, I had a really obese person who had come to me. I realized he wants to lose weight, but I had gained weight. But I realized he had the same problems as I had. So I just thought maybe his body is reacting the other side. So I changed my program upside down, and he lost weight. And somehow a second patient came, and a third patient came who were obese, and they lost weight very well. So I started obesity practice from there. While doing obesity practice for almost 10 years, I had a patient who had lost weight, but he came to me at 45, at 55, he had a severe chest pain. He was taken to the hospital, and out there they did all the tests, and the doctor said, "Your heart is in a perfectly good condition. What are you eating?" He said, "I don't know. I just follow Dr. Pritpal Singh's diet and supplements." So that struck a chord in me that something I'm doing is helping the whole body. So I went on a further research and study of nutrition, and I went into the main nutritional streamline. The basic thing about the whole nutritional aspect that I learned, you can say by chance or out of personal necessity, is that our health is controlled by the hormones, and we can control those hormones by what we eat. That's the most important thing, I feel. First of all, we got to know what exactly is protein. Protein are macronutrients, basically some major content of our diet. There are macro and micro nutrients, so two kinds. One which form the main bulk of our diet, which we need to have them every day because they don't get stored up automatically unless we do weight training exercise to increase our muscle mass. The protein gets stored up, otherwise it doesn't get stored up. If we eat extra protein, it's going to get converted into fat, and we end up storing the fat, not the protein. So we need protein every day. Protein is something which has been wrongly projected in India, I'd say, compared to the West. We have a small problem in India is most of our research work, both in nutrition as well as in medicine, comes from the West. In the West, people take too much of protein. I'll just give you an example. In USA, the average height of a man is 5 feet 11 inches, and he needs about 90 grams of protein. But the minimum protein intake out there is, on the average, 120 grams. That's far above the daily requirement. And there are many who eat 150 to 200 grams of protein per day. So that much of protein can definitely damage your kidneys, damage your liver, make the bones brittle, can cause loss of calcium in the urine, can cause even a stone in the kidney. So there the plea of all the doctors, nutritionists and the dietitians is reduce the protein. Please don't eat too much of protein. The Indian problem is just the opposite. We eat too little protein out here. So when the same knowledge comes to India, don't eat too much of protein. We are already protein deficient. When we eat less protein, it can affect our health in a major, major way. In fact, my 33 years of work in nutrition, I come to one conclusion. One of the major reasons why India has the highest incidence of diabetes since 2003 and heart problems since 2015, and we are expected to have the highest incidence of cancer by 2022 is the lack of protein, adequate protein. For those who are vegetarians, not only vegetarians, they are lacking protein in a major way, but also the non-veg don't eat non-veg foods every day. It can be maybe twice or thrice a week, except for a few limited communities who have protein regularly. The majority of Indians eat too little protein. Now, protein is important because we have 5,000 chemicals in our body. All these chemicals are made from protein. Out of these 5,000 chemicals, there are 3,000 special chemicals which accelerate the chemical reaction or speed up the chemical reaction so that we remain healthy. They are all made from protein. These are chemicals, enzymes. They're called enzymes. Now, enzymes are like factory workers. Just like a factory is run by factory workers, our body is run by these 3,000 enzymes. Our enzymes are controlled by hormones and partly also by the brain chemicals. Now, most of these are made from protein. When we cut down on protein, that's exactly what happens to our bodies when we reduce our protein intake. Our body goes slow. In a city life, I say most of the cities in India, where the stress levels are high, as also our pollution levels are very high. We're being bombarded by chemicals in our food, in our water, in the air, household and office chemicals, and our liver has to function extra. Our need for protein is extra, and if we do not increase the protein intake, we can end up having major illnesses. So first of all, we need to understand that protein is of paramount importance. In fact, the word protein comes from a Greek word that means, it's called protos, which means of paramount importance. And we need this protein on a daily basis. Now, protein does 4 important things for us. It makes us mentally alert, increases the focusing power. So basically, if you do any work, you can do it much better. It can help a child to study better, to focus in school better, if he has sufficient protein before he goes to school. This is actually my point is, I'm going to come to that in a few minutes time. Protein also increases our physical energy levels. And last of all, protein delays the appetite for the next meal. Protein actually gears us up to face the world, gets us action ready. So if you have sufficient protein for breakfast, sufficient protein, you can work the whole day, not feeling tired. Your mind will be working in a very steady way. In fact, you can handle stress better. And whey protein that does that better. I'll come to that. Especially the whey protein has got extra advantages compared to any other protein with no disadvantages which some other proteins have. We'll come to that in a few minutes time. But I would like to basically stress on that without the protein, we would not be able to handle the day's work and the day's stress. Now, whether it's vegetarian or non-vegetarian, the protein will be the same. It is dependent upon the height of the person and the weight of the person. Basically, protein should be 1 gram per kilogram ideal body weight, both for men and women. The other formula is you need a minimum of 0.7 grams of protein per kg body weight, your present body weight. Now let me give a few examples. The average height, I think, of a woman in India is about 5 feet 2 inches. She requires about 52 grams of protein. ideal body weight should be around 52. She requires 52 grams of protein. Somebody who's say 5'4" can require about 55 to 56 grams of protein. Somebody who's 5'5" requires at least 60 grams. Some going up to 5'6", 65 grams. Someone and a man's height, the average height which is 5 feet 8 inches, you require at least 68 grams of protein every day. Now that is a large amount of protein. So let me just give you some idea about where the protein is found. Protein is found both in animal and vegetable sources. But vegetable sources of protein have some problems. Protein has 8 units called essential amino acids. Children need 9, adults need 8. None of the vegetable source of protein contain all the 8 essential amino acids. We medically call them essential because the body cannot produce. There are altogether 21 amino acids that we require. So if you subtract 9 from them, are left with 12 other amino acids. These are non-essential because our body can produce them. But these 8 in adults, or maybe 9 in children, not maybe, but 9 in children are a must. We must have it from our diet. Now, none of the vegetable sources contain all the 9 essential amino acids. Let's say 9 essential amino acids. Some contain 5, some contain 7, some contain 6. So there is a deficiency of the amino acids. Now, earlier dietitians would think, fine, there are some foods that contain these 5, another group of food contain another 6, which contain 4, which is not present here. So if we mix and match, we can have all the amino acids. So it gives us a complete protein. By the way, the animal protein is known as the first class or complete protein. The vegetable source is known as second class or incomplete protein. So they realized that fine, let's combine the different vegetarian group of proteins and we will have a complete protein. But it was found that you have to have all the 9 essential amino acids present at the same time for the non-essential amino acids to be manufactured. So it doesn't happen all the time. So result is a lot of Indian vegetarian diets have a deficiency of essential amino acids, and that can cause havoc health. Yeah. Tryptophan has another very big advantage. This tryptophan can help naturally treat people who have eating disorders, or they have alcohol addiction, or adults with aggressive behavior, or for that matter, children with attention deficit disorder. It can also help a schizophrenic patient, major advantage. It can help in pain syndrome, where people have unexplained pains all over the body. So this aspect of the whey protein can help people naturally without the medication. Whey protein has if we see the overall aspect of whey protein, the animal protein has one big disadvantage. It is very good quality protein, but always comes with a bad fat, which can really harm us in a major way. The vegetable protein has an advantage. It doesn't have any bad fat, but the quality is poor. The whey protein has a big advantage of having the advantages of both the animal and the vegetable protein. It is the best aspect of the animal protein and the best aspect of the vegetable protein. Now that is the real advantage of this whey protein as a supplement. So let's summarize the benefits or advantages of having a natural food, which is whey protein, instead of resorting to medication in a number of common ailments or health problems. Number one, the immunoglobulins which are present in the whey protein help in fighting infection. They are the first line of our defense. Number two, whey protein contains the building blocks of the powerful antioxidant called glutathione, which our liver manufactures, which helps in detoxification. In fact, whey protein can be given to liver patients, even in cirrhosis. I use it in case of cirrhosis of the liver without any problems. Number three, the alpha lactoalbumin of the whey protein has got the amino acid called tryptophan, which has two major advantages. On one side, it helps to produce serotonin, which makes us emotionally more stable, gives us a feeling of well-being, increases our feeling of emotional well-being, as well as helps in sleep. Those who have sleep problem can use it. On the other side, the tryptophan can naturally help in many problems like eating disorders, like alcoholic addiction, in case of aggressive behavior, in case of hyperactive children, as also in case of pain syndrome, which is basically unexplained pain all over the body, and fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. So these are some of the life problems, health problems that people have, where we don't need to have medication, but we can have the whey protein. Yes, there's one more major problem, major health problem where whey protein can help us. As I mentioned earlier, since 2003, India has the highest incidence of diabetes. Since 2015, the highest incidence of heart problems, and it's expected by 2022, India will lead the cancer the cancer patients in the world, the highest number of cancer patients in the whole world. Now, if we see the fundamental denominator, the one common factor in these three is the body is producing too high in insulin. Now, insulin is a very important hormone which plays a major role in producing six important conditions. If the body makes high insulin, it can lead to obesity, number one. Number two is diabetes. Number three is high blood pressure. Number four, a heart problem. Number five, cancer. And last of all, rapid aging. The Indian diet is such that in the bodies of most Indians, there is far more insulin than what it should be in a normal person. And this is the reason India has the highest incidence of many, many illnesses. The reason for this is Indians consume too large an amount of carbohydrate compared to protein. If you see the food habits of Indians, they eat too many rotis or too much of rice. Too much of rotis and too much of rice must be accompanied by good amount of protein. But unfortunately, this too much of rice and too much of rotis is accompanied by maybe a small amount of dal with a bit of vegetables and other accessories to make the food tasty, with maybe aloo bhaja or something, So this diet is deficient in protein. A diet with high carbohydrates, especially of two grains called rice and wheat, whether it's roti or whether it's bread for that matter, or maida, refined flour, if it is low in protein, the body will have to make a large amount of insulin in order to metabolize this wheat and this rice. If to the same diet we add the protein, the body will be making less insulin, and we can prevent ourselves from having these six problems I mentioned earlier. So whey protein plays a major role. If simply taken on a regular basis, it can protect us from these six problems. As I mentioned earlier, obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, heart problem, cancer, and rapid aging. Our bodies will make less insulin and will be more healthy. All we need to take is 15 to 20 grams of protein, whey protein every day to protect us in a major way. So what I would recommend is basically you can take 10 grams of protein morning and evening, not at night. Not to say you can't take it at night, but as I said, protein makes us ready for action. In fact, I would suggest my recommendation is take 10 grams of protein at breakfast time and 10 grams of protein at lunchtime. It will have four major advantages, which I mentioned earlier. Let me revise it. It makes us mentally alert, increases the focusing power. So any mental work you need to do, you can do better. In fact, it can improve a child's study. A child is given 10 grams of protein every morning. Say a 10, 12-year-old kid is given 10 grams of protein, or even a 6-year-old kid is given 8 to 10 grams of whey protein every morning. His studies will be much better in school. Number three, increase the physical energy levels. You will not feel tired even if you do the whole day's work. And last of all, it delays the appetite for the next meal. So you'll end up eating less of the carbohydrates. So these are some of the major advantages of whey protein, which we can use on a daily basis.